Reactions have trailed the continued detention of Seun Kuti by the Nigeria police after a video of him slapping a police officer went viral last week. While some have condemned Seun Kuti's action, others, especially his colleagues in the music and entertainment industry, have come out to make an argument and form a defense of sorts on his behalf. Policy analyst and professor of strategy and development Anthony Kila has called on the Nigerian police force to apply caution in handling Seun's case. Professor Kila noted that Inspector General of Police should deliberately make sure his officers do not confuse a term prosecution to persecution. We're now joined this morning by Professor Anthony Kila, policy analyst and professor of strategy and development. Good morning, Professor Kila. Thank you very much for joining us.
Good morning. Good to be here.
All right. Professor, what it seems right now, you said you've urged the Nigerian police not to turn prosecution into persecution. I think we should go back to the basics and start to look at the situation by which they first of all went to investigate his house. One wonders, what must have happened, what must have transpired from him surrendering himself for questioning, being arrested, detained, and then the police going to search his house and now extending the detention. What are your thoughts about all that's been happening so far?
Well, let's talk about facts, then about perception. The fact is, there's a video of him shown slapping a policeman. Slapping anybody is wrong, in this day and age. That is a fact. Fact is, it happened on the road. And after that, he did not abscond and he did not deny the occurrence of the event. He said he has his reasons, but that's what the court of law is there for. It happened on the road, then they've gone to his house to search his house, and he presented himself. They didn't arrest him, and we saw them handcuffing him. And he's a known person, he's got stake in Nigeria, he's got properties, and everybody knows his movement, even if he leaves Nigeria. And I think he has less reason to abscond than to present himself, and we're dealing with a case of assault. From there to handcuff him, to detain him for days, and here I go to perception. So far, we've stated facts. From there to handcuffing him and detaining him for days gives a perception that the Nigerian police is acting out of vendetta, to show that you do not, quote unquote, mess with us. That can be an individual feeling, but it is not accepted by law. And above all, it does damage to the standing of the Nigerian police itself. So that is why the need to caution them to act in a different way, to understand that the whole world is looking at them, and the way they deal with this will affect their perception with the world, with the Nigerian public and beyond.
Okay, now I want to also talk about, the judicial aspect of it. There have been complaints that I've read where people say that the judicial system has also aided, the police with, the mismanagement of certain cases, and also with the persecution, that we're talking about here. So I want your thoughts on this. The law, of course, states clearly what the punishment should be for physical assault of police officers or whatnot. Why do you think we are going through all these different stages of, warrant for his house to be searched and him being detained a lot longer than you would expect? Should he have been granted bail, long ago and let go of, for, of course, investigations to be completed? What exactly is playing out here with the judicial system?
Well, personally, I think should have been granted bail, and personally, I think there is no need to go and search his house. But I speak as what I would do if I were the judge, but I'm not the judge. My perception is that the police are making a case using technicality to convince the bench, i.e. the magistrate in this case, to be tough on him, and I suspect that the police are listing reasons why he should be detained, i.e. the police and the prosecution for them. A case why he should be detained, a case why they should search his house. I think it's wrong. I think the judiciary needs to exercise caution as well. The judiciary needs to be seen to be applying justice in a way that anybody can commonsensically understand that assault is bad, we can prove it, and that is bad enough. You do not need to add extra things. An accident that happened on the road, there's no need to go and search the house because he did not use anything, no magic, no weapon, no charm to slap the man. It is there and then. And, it is enough to limit what happens there. It's a shame if the judiciary is being used to carry out any kind of vendetta. It is bad if it appears so, let alone if it then turns out to be that way. I think that the judiciary needs to be careful as well, not to be shrouded in this act of killing an ant with a sledgehammer.
All right. Professor, I wanted us to speak about the angle of, what this might mean for future assault cases. But let's go on a quick break, and when we come back, we'll talk some more about this. Thank you very much for joining us. We still have Professor Anthony Kila joining us this morning. We're looking at the current case of Seun Kuti and the Nigerian police. Professor Kila, let's talk about, this situation and what that might mean for future cases of assault. So do you think that this might in any way prevent future cases of assault? Also, what we've seen is that a number of Nigerian citizens have released videos of the police assaulting Nigerians as well, and calling for speedy adjudication of this matters. Do you think that in any way this might change the narrative for better or for worse, or the relationship between Nigerian police and the citizens?
You see, this is exactly where I think the police were not deliberate enough. When you deal with a case of a public figure, it brings the object of your treating to public glare. So assault has become a national discourse now. And unfortunately for the police, it's also going to put them under scrutiny. It is judge and be judged. They're going to be judged as well. And as you rightly notice, one of the first things that come into people's mind is, what about all the people that the police are assaulting across the country? My hope is that this case will send a message out that the police takes assault seriously, physical assault of any kind seriously, and that they will inform their own officers as well, not to assault people. Because right now, people have the impression that assault is a punishable offense and it will get the Inspector General of Police attention. So they should brace themselves of reports and petition of police people assaulting people. That is one of the consequences. For the people, I think it should teach people that be careful when you go slapping people on the road. Avoid it totally. I was going to say where you can, but the rule should be to try to avoid it totally, because it has consequences.
Yeah, Professor Kila, is there also the part where the people feel powerless in situations like this? Because, we've repeatedly seen videos upon videos of police officers assaulting citizens. We've seen it tirelessly. It's gotten to a point where, it also then become even traumatic for Nigerian citizens. If you remember, the NSAS protest in 2020 was a combination of these videos and accounts of citizens getting assaulted by the police. Do you feel like, there's a place where the Nigerian citizens feel powerless, seeing that the police force refusing to take accountability, act like they are a cult group? Because this is not just in Nigeria, even in the United States, it's almost pretty much the same thing, where the police fails to take accountability for its officers. Can you talk about the sense of powerlessness from citizens?
Well, I think before we go to the sense of powerlessness for citizens, let us agree that, generally speaking, uniform and guns is a mix that can get people inebriated, regardless of whether it's Nigeria and the US. It is the discipline of the institution that forces them not to get drunk by uniform and guns. That said, you say the citizens are powerless. They were powerless, but you've seen that with NSAS. At some point, they took action. My suspicion is that after this event, people will feel more empowered to denounce, report, and petition action of police abuse, because the police itself has created a precedent where they've detained somebody for close to a week over a case of assault. So that gives people the idea that assault is a serious case, and the case will soon be made that since the police knows it's bad, if anybody from the police does it, then that makes it worse. So the police should brace themselves for, reports and media comment, especially social media, on cases of police abuse now. So that's the way forward. And I suspect civil society and human rights and lawyers who are willing to take up cases will now be more prone to take on the police when they act this way. So the sense of powerlessness, yet It tends to be there in this country, but with events like this, somebody has touched the honey's nest or something, and that will not continue that way. That nest has been touched now, so it won't be business as usual again.
All right, Professor Kila, very interesting speaking with you. We hope that this controversy ends soon, and of course, the Seun Kuti saga, is put to an end, regardless of how it ends, But of course, justice is seen to be meted out. But thanks very much for your time this morning.
Good to be here. Thanks for having me.
All right.